Hello, everybody. My name is Keontae Tribute Percival, and this is my studio project. We were tasked with creating a non-denominational sacred space and a monument that honors Prairie View A&M University's history and the 149th celebration. My project was named Le Dome Aureole, which translates into the Halo Dome, and I named it this due to its overarching form and how the halo is very synonymous with spirituality. In addition to our project, our focus this semester was on precedent research and how to incorporate it into our designs. We first began by finding a moment in Black history and learning how to conduct thorough research. This taught us to go deeper than the surface level and how to relate to our concept words and ideas based on our research. My Black History moment was Black Wall Street, and I chose this because it is often overlooked when speaking about Black history. It has also been a piece of history that has fascinated me since I was young, and many times when it is mentioned, people tend to forget the positive aspect and only highlight the negative. This showed me that two things can be possible at one time depending on how you look at it. This duality helped me shape my design. After the moment in Black history, we then moved on to monuments. This was a study done to break down architecture into its simplest forms of interest and how they can be designed to show tribute to a person or event. The two monuments I chose were the Azadi Tower and the Bicentennial Torch. The Bicentennial Torch was made to commemorate the heroes who lost their lives fighting for Mexico's independence. The Azadi Tower was originally called the Shayat Tower, named after the Shah, and was constructed as a symbol of the 2,500-year celebration of the Persian Empire. It was later changed to Azadi Tower following the revolution and the disassociation with the Shah. This also played into the two different aspects being possible at one time as far as representation. I chose these two monuments because of their form and their structure, and the way they rise up and symbolize growth was a factor that I felt was very empowering. Our last portion of research was focused on sacred spaces. We studied these spaces to see how form and materials were used to evoke a spiritual experience. The two sacred spaces I chose were the Baha'i Temple of South America and the Thomas Troy Birth Memorial. I chose the Baha'i Temple because of its circular form, which showed me how circles symbolize God because of their never ending lines or edges. It also showed me how to use natural lighting to brighten up a space while also creating a unique look to a building, making something that is aesthetically pleasing as well as functional in the design. I used the Thomas Troy Birth Memorial Chapel to learn more about materials and how to use them to create moods. It showed the importance of materials and how you can use them to darken up a space but keep the light moving throughout so it's not a dark room. It was also a demonstration of how to control natural light within a space. With all the precedent research done, we then moved into our site analysis. This is a zoom in of our site, and our site was located in Waller County in Prairie View, Texas, right behind Prairie View A&M University. When walking the site, there are some things that kind of stood out to me. We conducted a SWOT analysis, and one of the biggest strengths I noticed was that there was no architecture nearby, so it allowed for the freedom to create whatever, anything. And one of the biggest threats that I noticed were that there were no main roads nearby either, which um, which means that it was going to be hard to garner traffic in this area. So we needed a design to do that. In addition to the SWOT analysis, I knew that for this design to work the way I needed it to, I needed to do two things. I needed to evoke a feeling of heaviness upon the entry, and the monument should incorporate some sort of lookout or reflection point. Those are the two biggest feelings I got when walking around the site, so I thought it was important to keep those with me throughout this process. I also thought it would be important to have a building that could not only aid in teaching the history of Prairie View, but provide the students with more opportunities. After the site analysis, we transitioned into formulating our site layout with different iterations of how we wanted our site to look. This is also where our concept statement started to take shape. At this point, this is where everything we started to do had to have a reason. This is the site layout that I chose to go with for this semester. So the concept for the design is resiliency can be seen through consistently elevating. And this to me means rising above any challenge or adversity thrown your way. And I developed this concept statement because I think it perfectly encapsulates the struggle and perseverance of the black community in America. This is where all of my initial ideas from walking the site come into play. Upon entry of the site, you begin a descent approximately 4 feet into the ground, where water is now waist level or higher to the left and your right. This was done for multiple reasons. Passing through the threshold of water symbolizes a cleanse for your mind, body, and spirit as you move into this journey. The other reason I added this water and this descent was to create that heavy feeling. The feeling of water almost drowning you as you move through. As you continue through the site, you slowly rise back up, and by the time you reach the top of the monument, you are 12 feet in the air. The path is curvilinear and follows the shape of the buildings and was done to emulate circumambulation, a practice that is used in many religions as a tool for meditation and to clear your mind. The design choices I chose to go with for the exterior of my buildings are more gaudy industrial. And I wanted to create this grand feeling when walking up because, like I said previously, there are no major roads near this site, so I needed something to capture the visitor's attention. And the site has three buildings to it. It has the art gallery, the sacred space, and the monument. Here are my east and west elevations. Here are my north and south elevations. And here is the first building you walk up to, which is the art gallery. And here's the floor plan for it. I kept it very simple in here. You have a covered outdoor space, which can be used as a patio or a room to set up pieces during exhibits. And you also have an indoor art gallery space where you have your more weathered and permanent pieces. Here's a section cut in a wall section of the art gallery. And here's the exterior of the art gallery. The materials I chose for the exterior of this building are marble, wood, and gold. Marble is used on the face of the building because marble symbolizes purity and immortality, and I thought this was important to have because I believe the black American ancestors to be pure of heart and only trying to create the best out of a terrible situation that they were in, and that their stories and this nation was built on the back of these slaves, and I believe that makes them immortal. The wood represents growth and strength, and I laid it vertically to also elongate the building and make it appear taller. Gold was used because gold represents wealth and divinity. On the interior, I chose to keep the walls white to brighten up the space. I also used polished concrete on the flooring throughout because of its durability and ability to reflect the light throughout the space. In here, this is where people would learn about the history of Prairie View, see beautiful art. Next, we move on to our sacred space. In this non-denominational sacred space, we have a public sacred space where a group of about 25 people can come and gather, two private sacred spaces, with one of them facing north where about 1 to 2 people can go to have individual prayer. And we also have a lobby, an office, a donation room, a custodian closet, and restrooms. Here is a section and a detailed wall section of the sacred space. Here's my exploded axonometric for my sacred space. The form I chose to go with was circular and dome shaped because domes symbolize the stars and the heavens in many religions. And I also use my roof is also my exterior walls. My interior walls also protrude through the exterior walls, becoming the ribbing. This was done to also create that duality that I talked about earlier. Here's the exterior of my sacred space. This is where you can see all the materials that I used. I used iron, spandrel glass, glass, and more gold. The use of iron for this structure was done because iron symbolizes resilience, and that's what this was about. On the interior of my sacred space, I chose to go with a different feel. The materials I chose to go with in here were marble, ashwood, and clay. I chose ashwood because it symbolizes life, death, healing, and the connection between the heavens and the earth. I chose clay for the walls because clay represents vulnerability and the transformative power of creation. These materials were chosen because I wanted to evoke a mood change while inside this sacred space. I wanted to create an inviting atmosphere and a sense of comfort, so I chose to use warmer tones and neutral materials to relax the visitor. This is one of the private sacred spaces, and it is set up to be an escape. I believe that these private spaces need space or enough room to give opportunity to move around and pace and be free without feeling like you are confined. The other private space is similar in size and set up similar to this one. This is the office space, and this is the donation room. And I named it the donation room for a number of reasons. While clothing donations are welcomed and offered to those who are in need, this room was also designed to hold clothes that are clean and kept within the sacred space. There are some smaller religions who have to change clothes when they enter their sacred space in order to pray and worship. So this is what that room is for, to hold clothes for them, to be able to come in here, wear clean clothes, and change back into their regular clothes before they exit. We then moved back outside to the monument. The material I used on the monument was travertine. I used travertine because it symbolizes confidence and stability. This monument was done to symbolize the ongoing battles fought by the black community. This is shown through form. When viewed from the plan perspective, the monument resembles a circle, which signifies how it feels as if the black community has been fighting the same battle for centuries, but when viewed from a human eye level perspective, the monument looks to rise out of the ground, continuing the rising momentum and elevation that has been throughout this entire site. The monument includes a lookout point and an amphitheater. This idea was also brought to me from the duality of life. Below the monument is the amphitheater, and this is a place where people would come to chill and enjoy themselves, while right above them is a point for reflection and to think and clear your mind. This is the end of the journey of the site and a place to look back over it all, and at this point you have elevated from the past and to the future. And I thank you all for listening to my presentation.